back to Tour Validated. My name is DJ Lantz, joined by Wadeh, and we are going to talk today a little bit about the cast versus forged irons. It's a topic that obviously is one that gets a lot of discussion over the years in golf, but I think it's one we need to address again now. So just to keep things very simple, I'll explain what cast versus forged irons are. And the most simple way I can say that is a cast iron starts as a liquid and then is formed into the solid. The forged stays solid the entire time. So the cast iron is going to be poured into a mold, hardened, and then removed from that mold, whereas the forged is going to be a solid billet of steel, heated, hammered, bent, mashed, slammed, all that stuff to form that amazing iron.
So technical.
Talk to me about your cast versus forge process and where you're at with everything right now.
Yeah, so I've just noticed that over the last, call it 6 to 12 months, that in my game, depending on where I am, what I'm doing, I've got 2 young kids, so I'm chasing them around a lot. And whether I've got time to practice or not, sometimes when I jump into my forged irons, I'm noticing, especially on my long irons, they're not going as far. I have a problem where my 4-iron, 5-iron, and 6-iron are going the same distance. I've noticed on tour that a lot of players are moving to cast. Victor Hovland, one of the biggest names to probably talk about in that regard. And in my head, I'm like, is that something I should be considering? And it might be a blended set, it may be a full set, I really don't know, but that's kind of where I am in my cast versus forged journey.
Okay, so there's the journey he's going through. We're gonna actually have him hit his forged iron versus a cast iron option. We're gonna talk about the differences. There are a lot to talk about. We're gonna talk about feel, sound, launch, all that fun stuff. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification. Now we're gonna watch Wadeh pure some iron shots. First up, we're gonna hit the Mira 302.
Yep.
Mira is obviously known for its forging process, one of the best ever.
Yep.
We're gonna hit the 302. That's a more forgiving model in the Mira lineup. So it's gonna be an S20C soft carbon steel, fully forged. That third strike in the Mira process is what really makes it special, and it's gonna really help with that feel and sound acoustics, but they've done a great job with the geometry there.
Yep.
What you're gonna see in the cast option, since you mentioned Victor Hovland, we're gonna go with the I-230, and we're gonna look at some of the differences. One of the biggest being that in a cast iron, you can do a more aggressive design with the geometry because it is being poured into a mold. So this is gonna have an elastomer on the inside that's gonna help with some of the acoustics and feel. And
yep.
We'll talk about some of the differences. So 302 is up first.
Yes, sir.
Hit some shots and talk to me about feedback, feel, all that stuff.
And distance to the pin, we've got 190 yards,
190.
which is generally around my 6-iron as well, so. Cut in there. I mean, Mira irons feel super soft. They're awesome. I love them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're one of the best irons in the world, if not the best iron in the world in my mind. Got that one chunky. So it'll be interesting to see if that distance, so you can see their distance not so, I mean, I guess it's got around the same, but.
And I think that's part of the conversation that we'll have, I think, as you move into this cast option. Forgiveness does become something you'll see a little bit more of because of the forging process. There's only so much they can do with moving the MOI around in that head.
That was a good one.
So there we go.
Yep, pin high.
Pin high.
Okay.
Next up, we have the I-230. This is a cast option. It's gonna have an elastomer insert, so that's really gonna help with the feel, the acoustics, the forgiveness, and then you have the aggressive geometry option because it is a cast head, so it works for Victor.
Yep.
Should work for you. So you made a few swings, kind of got used to how that looks visually and feels, and now we're gonna have you hit some shots and we'll check out the data versus the Mira 302.
Yep, makes sense.
Solid.
Yep, solid. It just feels like I can do whatever I want. It feels like I can grip it, set up, choose where I want to hit it, and swing. A little bit chunky and but didn't sacrifice distance with that chunk.
Right, and I think that's an important thing to note. With the cast option, you do have a little bit more forgiveness, so that front to back dispersion gets a little tighter.
There it is.
Really solid.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this data and check out the story that it tells.
Yes, sir.
Taking a look at the data, It tells the story exactly how we'd expect it.
Yep.
The cast versus forging process. Obviously one that's very different, but there are benefits to each. So with a forged iron, you're gonna get a little bit more precision, a little bit more consistency, which we saw the carry yardage with a deviation of only 2. That's what you expect. In your precision process, you're gonna have a very consistent feel and overall dispersion across that face.
Yep.
When you look at the Ping i230, does exactly what you'd expect. It's gonna help the ball launch higher. We saw a 2-degree increase in launch angle.
Wow.
Spin stayed consistent, which is a really important part of this process, but we saw a big jump in distance and overall distance. So exactly what you want.
Ball speed up 4 miles, right?
Yeah.
117 to 121.
Yep.
That's huge. Launch angle, incredible. Spin stayed around the same.
Right.
Which I think is one thing that people would think would go the other way, right? Cast would turn around and give you a bucket load of less spin and the forge would give you more, but it's like 80, 90 off kind of a thing.
Super consistent. So that's part of what I think today is all about, is understanding the differences, but also comparing the similarities. So the cast irons have now reached a point where you are getting a lot of the benefits you used to get only in forged irons with a lot more forgiveness.
Yeah, and I think, looking down at these two clubs, I couldn't tell you which one is the forged versus which is the cast if I didn't know, right? They both look very sleek, they both look great. They both felt great in the shaft that I play, the Dart V from UST. All honesty, this is something where, and this is hurting my tinkering brain even more so, because it's going to turn into that point where I think I do need to probably go and grab some cast irons. Whether that's a blended set or a full set, I think to begin with, I'd probably go 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 in cast. But I'm definitely going to be buying a couple to see how that feels, and then trying to match that with my Miras, because my scoring irons, I still feel comfortable with those down in my bottom end of the bag. But this has definitely been an eye-opener for me, because I did feel like it just released my mind. It didn't make me think. I was just setting up, swinging through the ball. And the dispersion was a little bit off on this, but it was also the first time I've hit these clubs. So I think that with a little bit of practice, with a little bit of knowledge of that club, I can very, very much get that dialed in, and getting that extra bit of distance is pretty incredible. So yeah, so I think for me, it's definitely one of those things of, I am going to get myself some cast irons. I don't know whether it's going to be the i230 or it's going to be something different, but definitely going to be putting 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 in the bag and seeing how that plays out.
It's a warm welcome to the channel.
Yep.
You are now in the tinkering mind even more so. Every time you hit a new club, it has your brain spinning.
Spinning.
And that is what this is all about. So
spinning, DJ.
We saw exactly what we expected to, and if they're good enough for a guy who makes $20 million in 2 weeks, Victor Hovland, I think definitely something that other people should consider.
I'm glad you paused and said Victor Hovland, because that was not me.
Yeah.
If I would have made $20 million in 2 weeks, I would not be here.
You would be. People are going to subscribe to the channel so much that we are going to be the Mr. Beast of golf YouTube.
There you go.
So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about cast versus forged. You did a great job hitting some shots today.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate you.
Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on those bell notifications, and we'll see you soon. First up, we're going to hit the Mira. I'm not going to look at that camera. That looks awkward. Sorry. I was like, yeah.
Spinning, DJ.